Well, it's been quite some time since I last did a top 10 list, and now I'm going to be doing another top 10 list, and it's one that I've been thinking about and have been doing for quite some time now. But this list has to do with the top 10 Super Bowls of all time. And the reason why I'm doing this list is because the regular season is over and, well, not over yet. I mean, maybe in a few weeks it will be over, but anyways, the reason why I'm doing this top 10 list is because the Super Bowl is the biggest game in football history, and Super Bowls have always been some of the greatest games ever played in the history of football. Now, when I was doing this top 10 list, when I was putting it together, there were many factors that I had to take into consideration. Obviously, matchups had something to do with it, but other factors that had to do with it were record-breaking performances, storyline going into the Super Bowl, memorable plays, aftermath of the Super Bowl, basically what happened to the teams after the Super Bowl, and many other factors. But anyways, that being said, I now bring you the top 10 Super Bowls of all time, starting with number 10, Super Bowl 25, the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Giants. And many people probably wouldn't put this on the top 10 list, but the reason why I put it on the top 10 list is because there are a lot of notable factors about this Super Bowl. There were, well, first of all, one notable factor is this was the only Super Bowl in Super Bowl history in which neither team turned the ball over. Like, there wasn't an interception or a fumble lost. I mean, there might have been a fumble, but it was recovered by the same team. I don't know. So basically, there were no turnovers. Both offenses were very careful not to turn the ball over. There were also, it was also a real tight game throughout the Super Bowl. Like, both teams looked even throughout most of the game. I mean, by halftime, there was only a 2-point difference in favor of Buffalo. Then in the second half, New York Giants got a slight lead against Buffalo, and basically it came down to 20-19, fourth quarter with less than a minute left. I forget exactly how much time was left, but I know it was less than a minute. And it all came down to a field goal attempt. I think the distance was 47 yards, somewhere around that area. But anyways, Scott Norwood would be the kicker for the Buffalo Bills. If he made the field goal, Buffalo would win their first Super Bowl. If not, then they would turn the ball over with a missed field goal. New York would kneel the ball to end the game. So the snap was good, the hold was good. Scott Norwood kicked it away, had the distance. 2 words: wide right. That's right, he missed it wide right. And because of that, the Buffalo Bills ended up losing 20-19, which is the narrowest margin in Super Bowl history. Never in the history of the NFL has there been another Super Bowl with that narrow of a margin. So, what happened after the Super Bowl? Buffalo ended up going to 3 other Super Bowls after Super Bowl 25, 26, 27, and 28. But they ended up losing all of those Super Bowls, each defeat being worse than the previous one. And as for New York, it took them 10 years to get back to the Super Bowl, in which they got beaten badly by the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the Giants ended up going to another Super Bowl, Super Bowl 42, but that's a story for another time. So basically, there comes a question. Are these two teams ever going to make it to the Super Bowl again? With Buffalo, I think it's safe to say they're not going to make it to another Super Bowl. I mean, when you lose 4 Super Bowls in a row, it's pretty much evidence that you're not meant to win the Super Bowl. And the last time they went to the playoffs was during the 1999 season, in which they went to the wild card round to face the Tennessee Titans, in which they lost to the Music City Miracle game. After that game, the Buffalo Bills just haven't been able to get back to the playoffs, so I do not believe Buffalo is going to get back to the playoffs anytime soon. I mean, they're obviously not going to go to the playoffs this season since they're already eliminated from playoff contention. I mean, they have got to have a better draft. They have got to get a better defense. Their defense is horrid. As for the New York Giants, they're still in playoff contention for this season, although they are somewhat behind by against the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's still up in the air as to whether or not the New York Giants are going to make it to the playoffs this season. They have proven that they are capable of getting back to the playoffs, and they've proven that they can get back to the Super Bowl. But as for winning another Super Bowl, it's kind of hard to say at this point. I mean, yeah, they do have many good offensive weapons and a few defensive weapons as well, but it's still hard to tell as to when they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl. So basically, that was number 10 on the list. Stay tuned for the other 9.